So in last session, we discussed about what are the benefits of onboarding an application in any IGA tool. You need to explain all the benefits to your application team. So to recap, so we can manage user lifecycle management once you onboard the application into IGA tool. So what are those life cycles? Joiner, mover, leaver, and of course, if rehire is in scope for your organization, sure you can discuss about that and explain them how what is the current process is, what they are following. Of course, they will be following some manual, either maybe a ticketing process or an email process. So ask them, they'll confirm what is the current process they are using, of course, which will be manual for sure, 100%. So explain them how you can automate and how you can reduce the manual efforts. By automating this, you are going to reduce the time to get access for any user in that application, and show them request center of your ICA if you have access request center. So if you do not have, that's okay, fine, you do not need to talk about that. But most of the modern IGA tools have this request based center, right, for all applications. So show them that user do not need to find out from where they need to request, whom to contact, nothing. They just can come to this IGA tool and place request for any access that exists in the organization. And of course, zero trust. We are enforcing all the security measures. We are looking at the access thoroughly on all stages of user lifecycle, and we are doing some processes, for example, certification, also known as access reviews, other stuff which we will discuss in coming sessions. So explain them how we are enforcing zero trust. That will uh, make our security landscape a bit stronger. And license management, of course, we are going to control the users, and immediately once the user leaves the organization, we are going to disable their access or delete them. So we call it as hard delete and soft delete. Soft delete is disable, hard delete is deletion. Most of the applications in nowadays, they don't support deletion, only disable. So you can do that, and once the account is disabled, license will not be consumed, license will be free. So immediately the license cost is optimized or reduced or saved, however you want to explain them to them. And 100% compliance, of course. So we will achieve this 100% compliance, making sure that every access is given to the right person, no more, no less. Correctly appropriate access is granted to the end users. So we will be compliant for all our security measures, and in auditing also there will be no gaps. We will be 100% compliant. So explain them, they will be happy after listening to all these benefits. If they're still not happy, fine, no issues. So once you explain, next is the actual show begins. You need to choose the connector. Okay. Why did I place choosing connector? Uh, because you need to understand, right? To onboard into SailPoint or any IGA tool, you should know what is the connector you are going to use. Then only the requirements will start. Because every connector is different in terms of parameters they need, right? I mean, the process is same for all connectors, but once you select the connector, the attributes or configurations or connection parameters will be little different. For example, if you talk about JDBC, you need to ask different details. If it is a web service application, you need to ask different details. If it is a Salesforce application, different configuration details or connection parameters you need to ask application team. So first choose the connector. After that, you can ask the questions, whatever the details you need in terms of connectivity, configuration, all that stuff. Okay. Now, first, what is the connector you need to choose? So they'll explain, right, what their application is. So first question after explaining the benefits you need to ask is, can you share your screen and explain us a little bit what kind of work you are doing, what kind of uh, operations are performed or by the users in your application, what it is used exactly. Okay, so generally when we receive an email from the management, they'll send like, hey guys, there is a new requirement to onboard this application. Application is XYZ. They'll say there is a new requirement to onboard XYZ application. So these are the point of contacts. Please schedule a meeting and begin the show. That's what we get the email. So there you have the application name, right? Take that application and check it in Google. Maybe they have mentioned as we have a new requirement to onboard Salesforce application, mainframe application, something. Okay, so I have a lot of years of experience. Because of that, I know a lot of technologies or products or applications that exist in the world. So if I hear something, maybe I know that already, but it doesn't need to be. You might not know about that application. For example, I would say Salesforce. Have you heard about it? Maybe juniors or entry level grads, they might not know about Salesforce. Mid level seniors, they might know. Okay, Zoom, everyone might know for sure. Why? If we are using no Zoom for our meetings and audio calls or video calls, right? So everyone used in the pandemic, including schools and colleges. So Zoom is well known for everyone. So now if you get a mail as Zoom Connect, Zoom application onboarding, so you can go on Google, just type Zoom or any application they have given. Just identify what kind of application is that. A little bit information. So I used to do that. I used to check in Google a Wikipedia page or simple questions. So what is this Zoom? So it will give a simple answer. I'll open Zoom website as well and I'll try to see a couple of information about what we do, what it is used for, what we offer at Zoom, something like that. Second option I'll go to YouTube and I'll just type it. So there a lot of content creators like me, they'll post as what is Zoom, what is what in simple 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, as a IT professional, it's good to know about each and every technology, what it is used for. I'm not asking you to go in detail, just what is what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not more than that. Okay, so that will help you. In case if it is not included in your mail, fine, we will discuss in the meeting with application team. So there we will ask them, can you share your screen, show us your application, how it works like, what is the purpose of it and what kind of operations you do. They'll explain for a couple of minutes. Then they will tell you, some name of the application. Let's say, okay, at application XYZ we do. Okay, hold on. That application XYZ, is it a custom name you have kept for that application in your organization, or it is a vendor name? For example, SailPoint. SailPoint is not a custom name. SailPoint is a vendor name or a company name which provides products like IdentityIQ and IdentityNow and some other products. So SailPoint is a vendor name. In case instead of SailPoint, if they say like IGA Tool, okay, or they'll use AIM tool, AIM, Access and Identity Management Tool. Okay, so some custom names they'll keep, or sometimes they use like something organization name, Access Management Tool. Okay, for example, connecting dots, we are using access identity and access management. So connecting dots CD IAM. So we'll call it as maybe CDAM we'll call, or CDIM, just an identity management, CDIM, CDIM. So I can name it as CDIM. So it's up to organizations wish, right? How they want to use the name, either by vendor name or they want to use some custom name, their wish. So once they tell the application name, ask them, is this a custom name or is it the vendor name? They'll answer you. After that, so once I hear that application name, immediately I'll go to Google and I'll type it. If I don't find anything, I'll ask them, is it a vendor name or is it a custom name? If they say that is a vendor name, fine. I'll find something in Google and then I'll go to SailPoint connector documentation. So if you go to documentation.sailpoint.com, you will find connector guides. Let me show you that. Since this will be viewed by non-SailPoint professionals as well. So let me show you how SailPoint documentation look like in a glance. So documentation.sailpoint.com. Earlier we were using community.sailpoint.com. It was close to SailPoint members only. I mean, close. It's a closed community. Only SailPoint partners or customers can create account using official mail. I mean, work mail, not personal mail. But now SailPoint made a lot of things open source. You do not need to be community member even. You just open this won't ask you for login. So now if you come here, you see all the products and then I mean identity security cloud. You will find identity now, identity IQ here, right? All the products. This is the home page. So here, if you see connector guides, okay, for identity now or identity IQ, connectors will be same. A little bit difference will be there in the architecture or the backend development, which I don't need to worry about. I'm not going to work on developing the connector or engineering the connector, right? I'm just going to use it. That's much is enough for me. So I'll go here and I'll check the connector guides. So it is alphabetically sorted out A to Z. These many connectors are available. You do not need to develop anything. Most of the times, see, in my entire career, I never got a chance to develop a custom connector. I don't want to develop even. It's of no use. Uh, in case if you do not able to fulfill your requirements, and if you feel like you get a greater productivity or advantage, sure, go ahead and develop custom connector. But if I am there in the discussion, I will say no to the custom connector. I'll try to use out of the box connectors only. If there are some use cases which I cannot fulfill using the out of the box connector, I'll go for some additional implementations. Okay, that we will discuss in detail in a different session. So it's your opinion, guys. So don't take me wrong. Someone might comment or someone might say that this is the reason we need a custom connector. Otherwise, how you will do that? Maybe I didn't get that requirement. Maybe for that requirement, I might say custom connector is the best. Who knows? Or maybe I have a different approach. Okay. So my wish is like I paid for SailPoint or any ICA tool, and I paid for their solutions and offerings. I'm going to use that to the fullest. It is like I paid for some hotel stay. They are providing food, everything. I bought that as well, right? So I paid for hotel stay, I paid for food, everything I paid. And if I don't use the food because I mean, if I don't like a little uh, kind of things there in the food available there in the hotel, and if I go to outside restaurant and if I eat that, doesn't make any sense, right? If that is the reason or situation, maybe don't pay for food in the hotel, just pay for stay. Go outside for the food, whatever you want. Hope you are getting my point, right? Use it to the fullest. Unless it is not going to be useful for you, then go for customizations. There are a lot of things which I have gathered. People are doing customizations, which we are doing in a out of the box way, utilizing the product to the fullest, 99%. Do you believe that in my last 1.5 year of experience in SailPoint, I didn't know I hardly written rules, just two cloud rules, I think, even one only. Remaining all, I'm managing through connector rules and transforms only in SailPoint Identity now. But when I see SailPoint community, a lot of people are asking connector rules, cloud rules. How can I get rid of cloud rules usage? Lot of times they are building cloud rules, but why I'm not getting that requirement? Why I'm managing through transforms and connector rules and out of the box implementations? Because I know the product. That's right. Okay, I'll give those tips and I'll give the workarounds. And definitely, if you're, don't take me wrong, if your requirement is a bit more complex, complicated compared to my requirements, then maybe you need cloud rules. I'm not denying that factor as well. But what I'm saying is before going to the cloud rules, recheck. Okay. So anyway, coming back here. So once you identify that connector here, so search for it. I mean, once you get the application name, search for it here. You find something, it's difficult to read everything, just use Control F and type it. You will find something here. If you find something, open that connector and explore that. What are the feature, what it is going to do. Okay. For example, you are going to work on Dropbox. Dropbox is like, it's a storage, file storage service provider, right? So if you go to Dropbox, it will give you the documentation. So supported features, this is very important. You need to see this. What are the supported features? Do not blindly use it. Do not start the work. Before starting the work, just check what it is going to be available. So what are the operations we are going to read? Sorry, we are going to do aggregation. Nothing but aggregation is the word we use for reading the data. Some product called import, delta import, full import. Some other product call it as sync. Okay, so reading the data from application into IGA product they call sync. Writing the data from IGA product to application also they'll call it as a sync only. Yeah, it's their wish. But in SailPoint, reading the data from an application into IGA product, we call it as aggregation. That's the word we use. And writing the data from IGA product to application is provisioning. So just two operations: aggregation, provisioning. Read, write. So read and write. Read is only one operation. Aggregating, reading all the data. When it comes to writing, you need to create, you need to modify the existing user data, you need to enable, you need to disable, and you need to delete. All operations comes under provisioning only. So you need to find out, these are the operations we need for any connector you take. Like reading the data, creating a account or a user account in an application, modifying the existing user data, enabling the user, disabling the user, unlock the user, delete the user. These are the possible operations most of the time. I don't think you will have extra operation than this. So these are the operations you will have for any application. So find it out what operations are supported, what operations are not supported. Okay, so you will find it here. In case if some operations are not supported, let's say there is a connector which is brandly developed, so they might have released it as a beta feature. It's not like completely all operations are supported, or even if that connector is released a bit older, but still if some features are not supported. Okay, so then maybe you need to go for a different approach. Okay, some reasons will be there behind that. It's not like SailPoint couldn't do or any IGA product couldn't do. So stop judging them. Maybe there is a limitation at application side. There may be some workaround. So discuss on that. So look at the supported features and go for prerequisites. What are all things you need? So these prerequisites you need to read and you need to configure the stuff accordingly. So talk to your application team. These are the prerequisites needs to be set up. In case if these prerequisites needs to be set up at application side, then you need to act accordingly a bit advanced as well, so that you can save the time. Okay, but in case if these prerequisites are for SailPoint side or IGA product side, then no worries, it's in your control. You can do whenever you want. Okay, so the first basic thing is we need to gather as much as information from the application team in the initial days itself. It's not like you will take one requirement or some data, you will work for 1 month, and after that again if you go and ask I need some other data, it won't look good. Okay, so write down all the questions. After going through the connector, you can say them, you can say to application team that okay, this we have never worked, this is a new thing. We will explore what are the details we need, we will gather them, and we will send a question. Or do not need, you do not need to say that even. All right, we got it. So we need some details from you. So what we do is we consolidate all those details. We will send in an email and I'll schedule a meeting for that. So we will discuss, I'll explain what are the details, and then you can provide the answers in the meeting, or you can later get the data and send it to us. This is the way you're supposed to. I don't like to say that I don't know, I have never worked, I have to look into that, I don't want to use this. No need. Say that okay, I have received the information, I will work on this. Expect a mail shortly from me. I'll send the consolidated list of questions, and I'll schedule a meeting as well so that you do not need to worry about or feel difficulty in understanding that question and facing confusions in providing answers. Maybe I'll schedule a meeting and we will discuss together, and I'll make your work easy to gather the information. Okay. Then, so yeah, you need to see supported managed systems, required permissions, all that stuff. So this is very important. So once you complete this section, then everything is in your control. You can do whenever you want. So first step is this is the one. Okay. So this is the way you can find the list of connectors and open them and find the documentation about it and go through them. It takes time, but you need to go through that. Okay. So now, in case if you find a direct connector there in SailPoint documentation, it's a very good. So direct connector, what it means. So SailPoint has developed the connector already. They have worked with that application team. They know what features or what offerings from that application. And SailPoint has built capabilities for reading the user, writing the uh, writing the data to the user, including create, modify, delete, disable, enable, unlock, all these operations, and password reset as well. Another operation which you need to consider. We do have password resets for all applications. We can do user can reset their passwords for any application if that connector supports. Okay, so if it is a direct connector, your work will be very less. You do not need to configure anything much. Okay, so in case if you don't find direct connector, yeah, SailPoint has, or I think I counted lately 130, 150, maybe I didn't count recently. I can say 200 maximum. Okta has 1,000 plus connectors. They have connectors for everything that exists in the world. I have seen it even once. I have learned Okta as well, bit theoretical, never practiced actually. I worked in other products as well, but I would say Okta in access management, but SailPoint in IGA. I think SailPoint has rich connectors. I guess Saviynt also has a lot of connectors available for them. ForgeRock, I don't remember, but I don't think it has a lot of connectors, but maybe it has. Not a big deal. Okay. So next is in case if you do not have a direct connector. If you have a lot of connectors, that's a good thing, guys, because you can make use of them. You do not need to do any custom. Okay. So in case if someone is not agreeing with me, I'm up for debates. We can have debating session. I'm fine with it because I'm not. What I feel is I'm not a vampire. I hope I am, I wish to be, but I'm not. So I'm not going to live forever. So I have very less. I have short time to live for. So in that short time, I want to work which is going to give my life, or which is going to make my life easy, no challenges, not facing difficulties. I always strive for that, even in professional life and personal life. Okay, so if you have a lot of connectors available for you, you do not need to develop much. You do not need to worry much. Okay, so there is a connector called PowerShell connector in one IAM product. You need to develop PowerShell script for each and every operation, and you need to put those in that sections. Why? Why do you need to develop like that? If you have a direct connector, you do not need to do anything. You just need to enter the config connection parameters like URL of that application, like Salesforce URL, or IP address, or host name, username, password, or tokens. That's it. Everything else connector will take care of. That's why you purchase the product, right? Okay, so next, in case if you do not have direct connector, next fall back to SCIM API. So SCIM is the API standard where it will say that if an application is adopted SCIM APIs or SCIM standard, system for cross identity management, that's the full form of SCIM. 2.0 is the latest one. So there you will you will see that application team or application adopted the SCIM API standards. So what it says that every SCIM application, it's the same way it will work. Doesn't matter which application it is. If it is adopting, if it has adopted SCIM, then it will do the same operations like creating user, modifying the user or updating the user, disable the user, and add access to that user. All these operations are supported. It's like a direct connector. You do not need to worry about it. And you do not need to gather all API calls even. You just get a base URL of SCIM API. You can get it from application team. So then SailPoint we have out of the box SCIM 2.0 connector. SCIM 1.0 also there. You do not need to use it. Check with application team. If they say that we are supporting SCIM 1.0, then use SCIM 1.0 connector. If it is up to date with SCIM 2.0, use SCIM 2.0 connector. For example, CyberArk. CyberArk also has SCIM 2.0 API. So we onboarded. Once I onboarded this CyberArk using SCIM 2.0 connector. I worked recently with a couple of cloud applications. I use SCIM API. So I chose SCIM 2.0 connector. I just gave the SCIM base URL, have given username, password, or some tokens as well. Auth2 if that is the authentication method. That's it, nothing else. Everything else connector will take care of it. Once you save that, um, maybe I'll show you demos as well later. So then you get everything automatically. Even schema attributes also you will get it automatically. Okay, so second level, second fallback to the connector. If you do not have a direct connector, SCIM API, but you need to ask application team, do you use APIs? Do you have REST APIs or SOAP based APIs? If they say yes, then ask another question. Do you have SCIM based APIs? Do you have SCIM based APIs? Why SCIM API is better than next option API? I'll explain in a bit. So ask them, do you support SCIM? If they say yes, then your life is saved. Okay, so okay, that's great news. If they say they don't know, they will check. Okay, fine, let them check. Next, fall back to APIs. It may be SOAP based API or REST based API. SOAP based APIs are dead already long back. It's for good. So rarely you will find SOAP based applications, but 90% you will find REST based APIs only. So if ask them, do you support, do you expose your application through APIs? Do you have API endpoints for your application? If they say yes, ask them what kind of API is that, SOAP or REST based. If they say that they don't know, it's okay. Give us the API documentation. Sometimes they'll call it as a Swagger, SWAGGER, Swagger. Okay, so or sometimes they'll say API Explorer, different words they use. You use generic word as, can you share us the API documentation URL? We will look into that. Sure, they'll give you and you can look into that. Or if they know, they'll confirm that yeah, we are using REST based APIs. Fine, then cool. We need APIs for a couple of operations. I'll share a document for that. You can share with me. So what are those? I need APIs for operations, listing all users. I mean, reading all users, reading a single user. Then third, create a user, modify a user, adding access to the user. It may be a group or role. Then disable a user, delete a user, and unlock a user. So these are the basic operations you need to gather information for. Okay, and then you need a service account or something that needs to be created so that you can have some authentication method. Okay, in case if they say that we are not exposing our data through APIs yet. See, if it is a modern applications, almost every application in the world, they do build their APIs. For example, Microsoft. If you take any, that's what I love about Microsoft is you take anything, at least Microsoft 365, Microsoft Azure Cloud, all of them are exposing their data through APIs. I mean, you can interact with those Microsoft applications through APIs, and they call it as Graph API. I think Facebook also expose their data through APIs, and I think they also use this word Graph API. And SAP system, they were using SAP is one of the oldest ecosystem, right? They still use SOAP based XML based APIs, but they started adopting to REST APIs. But instead of saying REST, they adopted Open Data Standard, which is OData, Open Data Standard. So OData APIs we call, for example, SuccessFactors HR application, right? SuccessFactors is the HR application from SAP, which is widely used as well. So they expose their data through REST APIs. Even they expose their data through SOAP-based APIs. In SailPoint, the connector built for success factors, we have a direct connector for success factors, which is built using SOAP-based. Okay, I have built a web services connector for success factors through by using their OData API. So SailPoint has, sorry, SuccessFactors has going to adopted OData API. They said they will be deprecating SOAP-based APIs as well. Okay, so even SAP system is using started adopting to REST APIs. They will be migrating. It will be going to a lot of work for them and for us as well. So their standard is OData, Open Data API, which is nothing but REST-based API only. SOAP-based uses XML standard, which is a bit difficult to manage the data compared to REST-based, which uses JSON data. That's why SailPoint IdentityIQ, which is using XML-based objects, whereas IdentityNow, they felt like maybe it's better to use JSON, which is the lightweight data interchange format, which is used widely everywhere in the world for every application. Okay. So in case if there are legacy applications, old applications, might not have APIs, but if it is a latest application, they will definitely have. Modern applications has REST APIs. Okay, ask them. If they don't have, then next is database. See, whatever you talk about, whatever may be the application, end of the day, it has a database. Somewhere the data has to be saved or stored, right? Of course, it's a database. End of the day, all these are layers we are talking about: APIs, direct connectors, SCIM, everything. But end of the day, the data will be available in a database. What if I connect to the database? Okay, so technically it is wrong, but I would say like I just need one connector, which is database connector, JDBC connector we call Java database connection, JDBC. So I just need one connector, JDBC. I can connect it to any application in the world because every application is going to use some database, of course. Otherwise, how else they're going to save their data, store their data? Of course, it is a database. But connecting to database is risky. So they will create a user for us in their database, and they'll give privileges, root privileges, or system privilege they'll call, which is kind of super user. We can do anything. Okay, so they are worried about it. They feel like they're exposing or they're giving creating a user with super access. As long as their team has that access, they are responsible for it, no problem. But they are giving it to another team, IGA team. Doesn't matter who you are, what you do, how secure you manage the system, but still they'll have that insecurity. So that's why some application owners they say that I'm not comfortable in exposing my database directly because you cannot control the access through database directly. You create an account in database, you give the privileges. You cannot control what user can do or can't do to the higher extent. Okay, so that's what we call coarse grained access, fine grained access. So you cannot control this in detail, bit by bit. You cannot control. Whereas APIs you can control. APIs is like you can control each and every attribute also. But database, I don't think so. Maybe if it is advanced that you can control even one column whether this user can update or not. I don't know, but application teams are reluctantly saying, I mean, they're not interested to expose their database connection directly. So yeah, recently I worked with one database. I have gone through all these connector ways of finding a connector. So then they said like, okay, fine, since you do not have any, we don't have direct connector for your system, we don't have APIs, SCIM or APIs for your application. So next is database. Are you comfortable to expose your data through a database connection? They said yes at the first, but I suggested like that's not a good approach. It's not a secured approach. Even some people asked me, in the community, SailPoint developer community, where you can ask any question, developer.sailpoint.com/discuss. You can create account there. If you're a partner of SailPoint or customer of SailPoint, you can ask any question there. All right. So they asked me this question like, um, so I have a application which exposes the APIs, and I can connect to their database also, which is the best method, which is easy. Like that they asked. So database versus API. I said I'll go with API because API you have higher controls. Database you don't have much controls. Why? APIs, if you go, you have different type of authentication mechanism like access token, refresh token. You can use OAuth, you can use API token, all that stuff. Database, it is just username, password. If it is compromised, it's gone. Your entire organization is under risk. Whereas APIs, it's not like that. There will be validity. If your tokens are compromised, the token has expiry time. At least there, your risk is mitigated to some time, or the risk is exposed for a couple of minutes or hours. After that, the token will be expired, right? So that's why I would say always if you have API, go to API. Don't go with database. That's what my suggestion is. And also there is a benefit. Once you gather all the API calls, you can go to Postman API tool, or another tool also came recently. I don't remember that name. It works offline, not online. Postman works online with internet. So you can test all the API calls. Whereas database, it's not easy to test. You need to have that SQL developer tool somewhere. You need to connect to the database. It's time consuming, and you might not have SQL developer tool. I don't have it. It's difficult for me to install such kind of softwares in my laptop. But yeah, I would say Postman is easier to test the API calls compared to database. So another feature or another advantage, it's a personal thing only. I mean, as a developer, how I wanna utilize my testing or build my test cases. So apart from that, security wise, API is the best, not the database. Okay, so yeah, so I was discussing with that application team. They said they don't have APIs. They said they'll give the database connection. I said, okay, is it a mandatory? I mean, how urgent is this requirement? You have time when you are targeting it for. When do you have the timelines given by our management? They said sometime. It's an ample amount of time. We have couple of months. So I would suggest you, since this is not a urgent requirement, I would suggest you, if you have a developer in your team or your adjacent, I mean neighbor teams in your department, in case if you can develop an API, please go ahead and do that. Okay, so they said, yeah, that's a good idea. Let us do that. So they did develop APIs. It didn't take much time. So since all the databases we are using in cloud, so I don't know much about AWS, but Azure I know. Azure, there is a service called Azure API Management. APM they'll call Azure API Management. So using that Azure API management, you can build API calls in no time for any service that exists, any application that exists in Azure cloud. Whatever the functionality you are building, even if you are building Azure functions, anything, you can build APIs for them using Azure API management. Okay, so but it is charged, a billable service, not for free. So it won't take much time for you to create APIs out of the box from Azure. Similar service is there in AWS cloud also, I believe so, and Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud as well. You can make use of them. You do not need. It's not like you are developing APIs from scratch. So advise them. Okay, choose your words carefully because we are giving a suggestion. We are not giving recommendations. Recommendations also you can give, but you do not give instructions to them. Do not what can I say, harder them just as if you are their management. Don't do that. Say like, I got your requirement. My suggestion, if I may tell you, so from my experience, this is what we suggest to our application teams. It is better to use APIs compared to database. Can you develop API for your application? In case if you do not have time, for now we can go with database. In case if you have time, let's wait and you can develop the APIs. Don't worry, we can do onboarding quickly. In case if they say that we'll develop APIs, well and good. If they say that no, we don't have time, fine, we'll go with the database. But for future, you can consider and develop APIs. We can migrate from database to API. This is what we explain. In case if they don't have database as well, then I'll go with AD or directory based. It's we call as cascaded provisioning. So SailPoint is or any IGA product is already connected to AD. That's the first application, second application. So you take any IGA product, first application onboarding will be HR system. Second application onboarding will be Active Directory for sure. Okay, so Active Directory is what we use for authentication. We call AD account as network account or LAN ID, something you call. So without AD account, you cannot, in case if you are using Active Directory, which mostly world is using. So if you do not have Active Directory account, you cannot log into your organization laptop even. You cannot enter your organization network even. So AD will be there for sure. Or any directory. If you are using instead of Active Directory, if you are using any other directory. So yes, SailPoint or any IGA product is already connected to that. So we will be adding user to a group. Okay, so then application team or application, they also have connection with Active Directory. They can sync the data, they can read the data from Active Directory. So they will sync the data for some groups. If user is part of this group, they'll get access to this application. So yes, I have worked for Power BI tools, Cognos, Tableau, Cloudera, such kind of Power BI tools I have integrated using directory based. Okay, so if user is part of XAD group, of course user can request for that. You do not need to do anything. You just need to create couple of groups in request for them to be created by AD team. They'll create it for you. Once you aggregate SailPoint or any IGA product, it will display the groups for you. So you can allow those groups to be requested by end users. Once the user is requested for that AD group, it will go for approvals, of course, because you configured them already. So once it is approved, it will go for provisioning. User is added to that group in AD. So after that, application team will be running sync jobs every 30 minutes or every 15 minutes. So they will read the data. If user is part of this group, they'll get access to this application also. I mean, some access in that application. So that is how we manage the provisioning or operations. In case if a user is left the organization, their AD account is disabled. If their AD account is disabled, they cannot log into any system in the organization for sure. Second, um, you can read user status. Application team can read the user's status. In case if it's not like they need to read the status even. If a user left the organization, we will remove the user from all the AD groups as well as an offboarding process. So then when they sync, they don't get those users, right, from those groups. If they don't get those user, records will be removed from the access list at the application side. So they will be deleted automatically. So there is no user in that system. So license is already saved. User is already removed. So it is compliant. So this is called cascaded provisioning. Some IAM experts or IAM owners I discussed in last couple of years, they said, "Hey, I'm not interested in directory-based provisioning. This is time-consuming, cascaded provisioning like that." I said, "Okay, fine," but my inner feeling even today is I don't argue with anyone because I feel it's waste of time. But it's my opinion. Uh, don't think that you are building rocket science. First thing, don't think like that. Okay, so as if you are going to get greater advantage by doing this, and no, nothing like that. A little bit difference will be there. Okay, so in case if you are with your extensive customizations, if you are going to save $1 million, fine, 100K, fine, 10K, fine, but 1K, 2K is not a big deal for an organization. How many hours you are spending there, how much business you are going to save, it also needs to be tally. Let's say you are working as a developer whole month, you have some X amount of compensation. And if you at least save the business your salary by your development work, good. In case if it is lesser than your salary, then what is the point of developing that? There is no business value in that. So you always need to look into that. Yeah, end of the day, it's money is the matter. You have $1 million spent on the business, and if you don't get $1 million business valued product, then what is the use of developing it? I mean, I'm not talking about first year itself, but even in future. Okay, so think like that. So what is the point of developing a custom connector instead of using this AD based cascaded provisioning, in case if it is going to take a lot of time and it is not going to be that useful even? Okay, so the decision, there is no good solution, there is no bad solution, there is only opt solution. What is the best opt solution for you, the approach for you? It is subjective to the requirement and the timing also. Okay, the timing is also important. In case if it is very important, you do not have much time to develop something new, then you go with this AD based provisioning. I told you just now, in case if you are going with API and database, as I said, API is highly secured compared to database, which database connection pose some risk, right? So I mentioned that, hey Krishna, I love your suggestion, but I don't have time to develop APIs. Can you go ahead and do with the database? Of course, we need to take the decision because there is no time for them to develop APIs. Are you going to stop because of that? No, we should not. So sometimes decisions are influenced by timing also, the urgency also. So take the decision like that. There is no good decision, there is no bad decision actually. The decision what you have taken today may not be valid for tomorrow. May not be good decision today, but it might be good decision tomorrow. So you need to take accordingly. Finally, delimited files, which is not a good idea because it's a disconnected application. So if your application team is saying no, not supporting to anything here, then we'll go with delimited file. So recently I have found a case where they don't have APIs, they don't have AD based, they have database, of course, but they said, no, it's a security concern for us. We don't want to expose our database. They said, we tried to convince them, but they were not. And we don't have much time. It's an important and urgent requirement. So we are going ahead with delimited file. In case if we had time, we would have convinced them. Okay. So sometimes application teams will be more uh, difficult. They are difficult to convince them, but you need to try. But if you do not have time, no time to do that, then fine. But in future, you keep on giving the recommendations. What we can do is giving recommendations only. It's not like you can force them to use, right? So always it's all, we all should come and align together, agree for same thing, because it's not your personal opinion or my personal opinion. We all are working for organization security. The best we need to do that. So let us all discuss and come to a agreement. Okay, so how this delimited file connection will work. So of course we will receive the data from application team as a CSV file. Then we will be reading data from that file. It has a different mechanism. We will discuss that in a different session. And if a user is requesting for access to that application, then we will use SDIM, Service Task Integration Management. So when a user is requesting for access in this delimited file application, a ticket will be created to ServiceNow or any ticketing tools. Then the ticket is assigned to the team. The team will take the data and they'll create access manually at their application. They'll close the ticket. So SailPoint is going to read the ticket status. Once it is closed, based on the status, the ticket status at ticketing tool, it will give the response. In case if they say that no, it is we didn't do that for some reason, it will say failed. SailPoint will read that status and it will mark as failed. In case if they did successfully, it will read and it will say that it is successful. But I don't recommend delimited file because it's a time consuming process. Another SDIM you need, which is a bill, which is a paid module, of course, you need to pay for that. Second, it's not a good idea for creating as a ticket and manually creating the data. Do you think these application teams will work for you immediately? They'll take time because it's not like they're waiting for, hey, some ticket will be created. Krishna, the great person, VIP person, is coming and creating a ticket, so I'll be available to create access for that guy. No, They are busy at their work. They won't stop in the middle and they will work for you. No, they have their priorities. They will be doing the work. Along with that, they will maintain the SLAs as well. They'll try to do the work as early as possible for you. Takes time, but instead of that, if it is in SailPoint, after the approvals, immediate provision. Do not need to wait for it. Okay, so if you compare direct provisioning and delimited file or ticket based, of course, when you request for access in for a delimited file application in SailPoint or any ICA tool, it will go for approvals. After approvals are completed, then a ticket is created, and for you, the application team will act accordingly through the ticket. In case if it is a direct connector, then after the approvals, it's already provisioned in no time. Couple of seconds it will take, and it will provision. It will create a record for you, access for you. So we are good. So that's why I don't go with delimited file. And this is the way I talk to my application team. So this is not a developer work. This is not an administrator work. This is called as BA, business analyst work. But actually, I've been doing this from initial days of my career. I never used to hear that business analyst word even till last couple of years. So I've been doing this. So if you are a business analyst, this is a session for you. So this is how you're supposed to talk to your application team and gather the data.